But,
Oops.
well,
it's just like another episode of the Inflatable Falcon, right?
right. Well, I'm trying to think how we can just, if we can cut it to around an hour, that gives me something to work with. You know, I keep saying that, and then I'm the one that keeps my running my mouth. So, but welcome to anyone that's listening on the Inflatable Falcon. I think it should be up on our social medias.
I just hopped over here from Keith and Kerwin's father and son podcast.
Yeah. I had it on, but then I wasn't getting sound through it, so
Yeah, they had a guest, Nani from Triad of Force.
Oh yeah, I've heard. I haven't listened. The Triad of the Force is one of those ones that's on my list of things, but my list is getting so long with podcasts that I have to curate it a little bit.
We've already got Ark saying hi.
All right, Ark's first one in. All right, let's see. There we go.
We should start giving out badges.
Yeah, I wonder if we can. Where is my live? Is the live working on Facebook? Who knows? Oh yeah, let me get the chat. I see. I was on time today, and then I lost track of time. It's just Wednesdays. It feels like, at least for me at work, it feels like everything's getting piled on Wednesdays. Like, because I'm in charge of work orders, and we have 600 computers, all used by students. And now the students are starting last week. The students now email me if they have a problem. So I spend pretty much most of my downtime, and usually 15 to 20 minutes while I'm teaching every period, taking care of work orders.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I was being observed Monday morning, and while I was being observed, I'm teaching and I'm walking over, typing a work order in one computer while I'm re-imaging another computer while I'm teaching. I was just like, all right, here's this. If they want to see what I do every day, this is what I do.
Yeah, and talk about multitasking. Jeez Louise, it just seems like there's no end to the number of things.
Yeah, I think that's all jobs. I mean, I just think
I mean, I've witnessed, so we've gotten to the place where the vast majority of our meetings at work are remote. We don't have a lot of in-person meetings anymore.
right.
And I witnessed someone in one Zoom meeting on their computer be engaged in another Zoom meeting on their phone and talking on their desk line all at once. Like they I don't think they realized their camera was on their desktop, because it showed all of those things going on at the same time. And I'm like, man,
Well,
I hope I never get to that place.
Yeah, well, we had one computer woman, a computer specialist. I watched her remotely fixing someone's PC while she was talking to someone and fixing their Apple. She was this unique person that she just knew the ins and outs of both Apple and PC without looking it up. Like, I can fix most problems, but I gotta look it up. You know what I mean? Like, if someone asks me, even if I'm pretty sure I know, I'm just like, okay, let me check. I'll get back to you, and then I go and like double check. And she was just like, boom, 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 boom. So I don't know. So he said, wait for true time. So here's my list I had. Here's what my list I had. I said, what are we building? Trooping, podcast, and or thoughts, life day, and then much more. That was my list of things to talk about. We can come up with cool headings. I put in a request to be a guest on the Dad Batch. I don't know if I don't know if I'm up to their caliber, but I was like, what the hell? Because I'm friends with John. I was like, hey,
Well, what's
John,
funny is, so here we are. I see the scrolling banner seeing podcast talk. I was listening to the Dad Batch on the way home from work, and not all of them, but many of them were talking about that event that they couldn't talk about.
Yep. I know.
Like,
They were talking
so
about.
I'm getting it over there. I'm getting it over here. Like,
I know. And I was like, oh yeah. Zoe said BB-8 caught on fire. So because they were talking about that. So
like, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
but one of the things I find really cool about their show, and I don't understand how to do it. I had exchanged messages, months ago, maybe even a year ago, with Colin about having a little keyboard that you could insert sounds in the midst of your I
Yeah,
don't know how to do that yet, and I think it would be cool to have some of those, whether it's a quote or a chunk of music that plays
yeah,
during each of our, like, the lead into each of our segments.
yeah. Well, see, so the depending on if a lot of guys will post produce, so they'll just mark it like the guy. They'll just have a piece of paper, or they'll have, depending on the software they use, they'll just mark it, and then they give it to the guy in post, and the guy in post will throw the sound in. And then because I looked at those soundboards, because they're not, I wouldn't say they're crazy expensive. They float around $100 on Amazon, where you can get a programmable soundboard, you know, and or
Well,
you
Colin was telling me you can actually use just an MIDI keyboard.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. If you have an old like Casio, and you can run it right through your soundboard or mixing board, because the way mine's set up, I can run all that. I just need Colin to come over and visit, but he moved to like near Gettysburg now, so
Oh
he's
wow, I
like
didn't realize
he's
that.
like far away. So I'll get him roped back in one of these days. But yeah, their show is so, as Star Wars shows go, it's a good freeform show with very good producing. That's the part I think I enjoy the most. Um,
Have you listened to Blast Points?
years ago, I think Blast Points was one of those ones that was a casualty of, I just ran out of space to listen to stuff because I have my
Okay.
regulars, you know,
Yeah, for me,
and
Blast Points is one of the ones that's at the top of the list.
yeah. See, and mine's my top of the list, like the ones I listen to, no matter what. It's always Zoe's show, whatever. But theirs is, they don't have a set day, you know. Um, and then I think my other Star Wars one that I listened, and there's ones I like Father and Son I like, but there's sometimes I just bunch up and listen to a bunch at once, because some of those are short. Um, but my other Star Wars one that I always listen to for some reason, and it's, well, Steel Wars is one, but my other one is Bad Motivators,
Okay,
and I
I
think
still haven't
it's
listened to that one yet.
and I think it's because part of it, at least what got me hooked, is I know Eric a little bit, and I hung out with him in Anaheim, but his Missouri accent reminds me of my grandmother. Not He doesn't sound like my grandmother, but it's not even an
It's
accent. It's just
comfortable.
a few kinds of the way he speaks. I don't know if it's like comfort food for my ears, if that makes sense. You know, I remember when they used to always put a Taylor Swift song on the end of their show, and they got hit for copyright, and
Oh, really?
they had to go back through and remix like 100 some shows. So
Well,
that's
one of the cool things with Anchor, if we get to the place where we're doing it in Anchor,
yeah,
you can have your intro bumper and your outro bumper be separate files.
yeah,
So that way, when you load it, if let's say that happens, let's say we put a thing on there that they say we can't have, you can
right.
just go to the episode and pull the bumper off. So you don't have to go back and remix everything. You just pull a bumper off, and you're right as rain.
Well, I remixed everything from the girls at like episode 120 something. I remixed all of theirs because the girls were put on a uh internet radio, and they asked me to do it. So I was like, okay. And some of those old ones, man, they were terrible. And even some of, like, I would say, I was thinking about this driving, and I was like, the podcasting of right before, probably a year before the pandemic hit, it was just such a nightmare. Like with connections, like when the girls would podcast, because there was sometimes like I would have to record all of Zoe in one track, like the left track, and all of Lizzie in the right track to try to clean up the noise.
Oh
And
wow.
it was just a nightmare, because I'm not a sound. If I was a sound engineer, it probably wouldn't be a nightmare. But for a non-sound engineer, it was a nightmare. Um,
I'm
so
actually trying to figure out how I can arrange my space a little bit differently so that once I, start doing those episodes of the Rambling Star Wars Fan, I've got this thing set up because I don't listen to our show,
right.
so I don't know what the sound quality is like.
This one's pretty good. I mean, I think this one comes out pretty good. Like I think all of us have at least decent enough equipment that it comes out pretty good. I'm just trying to see why our event is not showing up. Let me see here. Let me just make sure we
So I've
are
ended up
live.
adding about another 15 topics for the rambling Star Wars fan to talk about.
Nice. Is that a good thing?
Oh goodness, yeah.
Now that's my question. So, what's your wife think about
Related to podcasting?
your podcast in general? Like my wife's pretty understanding but she kind of got gradually pushed into it because I've been doing it so long for Zoe, and she kind of sees the payoff for Zoe, for what it's kind of it's been like a slow grow for Zoe, So
Well, I think for Heather, she understands that it's a Wednesday night thing.
yeah.
And it's like, it's Wednesday night, so Ken and the guys are going to get together and chat. I think it may change once I start doing some of those solo episodes where I've commandeered, part of the downstairs to record a 45-minute episode on hoop jibs, all by myself, talking into the air.
Yeah, that's well, you'll do fine. It's like John. I told John like he should really think about he has a good broadcaster's voice and good timing for interviews. He might have missed his calling or not found it yet.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. That's for sure. And I think the more we encourage it and the more we give them opportunities to do it.
Yeah. I got my Biker Scout helmet done.
Nice.
Yeah. It's not that great. Like I learned my lesson from buying ABS cheap, but I bought it. It was someone just decided not to make it, and then after I was working on it, I was like, oh, I realized why you decided not to make it.
Do you have it set up so you can use magnets on the front?
No, it's just I just made it for a display. The problem is it's so thin. It looks like it was a bee pool. So when they vacuum formed it, it's super thin, like right in front of the air holes on the side. And so when I went to trim it, the whole thing cracked.
Oh, geez.
So I'll probably put a piece of ABS behind it and try to fill it in, and I'll just probably weather it. But it wouldn't be a good wearable because it's like I don't know if it was miscut, whoever I bought it from, if they tried to cut it first, but it's a decent display.
Are you going to leave it as a Biker Scout, or are you going to do it like one of the partisans?
That's not a bad idea.
Or even Ezra. Ezra had a cool
design.
I have
Ezra's. I did.
Oh yeah,
Ezra's.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot you had that
Ezra's. One. That's a Waltz Trooper Factory. That one's nice. It's just that middle seam for Waltz. I just, I know why you have to do it, but I'm just. Anyway, back to podcasting before we get too much into. Yeah, I can't wait to hear yours. I can't wait to hear more of John's. It's just, I don't know. It seems like it seems like the podcasting was like there was a big push for podcasting right near the end of the pandemic, and I feel like they're kind of dying off now. It's kind of like leveling out. You got a new ones, but some have kind of dropped off a little bit.
Well, I think too some of that may be that it was a space filler.
Yeah.
I mean, during the pandemic, people weren't going places and doing stuff. So especially with Zoom and Teams and all that kind of stuff, those two software applications, now people from around the world can connect in an instant and carry on conversations very quickly, very easily recorded and share it with the world.
Well, and the other thing, I think podcasting, if depending on why you do it, it can be relatively thankless. If that makes sense, because I think with podcasting, a lot of people. I'm turning the comments on. I totally forgot to.
Oh, okay.
Um, the I sometimes think podcasters think either no one's listening, or they think way more people are listening than are. And I think if you do it just for the listeners, you could wind up like beating yourself up a little too much.
Yeah, for me, it's in my head, and I haven't recorded any of my solo episodes yet. In my head, it is an opportunity to express and share all of these things that I've thought about, talked about in various places in an organized, structured way.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's similar to, there are some folks who will sit down at a computer and 3D model something and then print it, or another set of folks will go out into their garage and build a great display cabinet for their toys. For me, for whatever reason, over the course of my life, I've developed this knack for storytelling, or this knack for talking, which is very, very strange, because as a kid it wasn't that at all. I mean, I remember signing up for like the storytelling contest in school and failing miserably, and um,
Oh,
disliking public speaking, and then I spent 15 years where I was the guy who did orientation for every new employee that came through the company. And you know they would department managers would say, can you come in and do a 10-minute conversation on such and such? I'm like, okay, I don't know what such and such is, but I'll research it and figure something out.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's I kind of think, to me, my part of the, and I didn't realize this till I was redoing some of Zoe's podcast years, and then even when I migrated them over to Anchor this past summer, um, it's almost like a diary. Like in the olden days, someone would keep a diary of what they did. It's a way. Like, I think back and I'm like, man, I remember teaching podcasting um or in 2002 or 2003, when the one Apple, I forget which iteration of the Apple, um one of the old iBooks came with GarageBand, and it was touted as, you can do podcasts. Now, there was really nowhere to host them for the average person, but I used to teach podcasting, and I think, man, why didn't I practice what I taught at home and just, talk? Because in 2003, 2004, Zoe was big with, she was like 3 and something, and she was playing Battlefront. She would play I had Battlefront for the Mac, believe it or not, and she would play Battlefront on my laptop all the time, you know, and she would just talk Star Wars. She would just tell me about everything that was going on, in Battlefront and stuff like that. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm just glad we have this platform. I'm glad the podcast. Like, let me see my podcast. And again, I'm the I still think that one World War II spy hunting one that I listened to almost goes with Andor. Like, it makes Andor better.
What's the name of that one?
It is called. It's on its second season. The first season was they were hunting for a Nazi. It's called Good Assassins. And the season 1, they're hunting for the Israeli special forces or something, are hunting one. But this is about this. This one is about a spy who lived in France during the end of the war, and it's just really good. And it goes well with like the evil of the empire. It almost like dovetails in with that. So I'm just
One of
looking
the other
like,
things I really like about listening to different podcasts um, is just hearing the creativity in what they create. So if you put the Dad Batch next to Full of Sith, next to Star Wars Geek Girl, yes, they're all talking about a similar topic, whether it's a costume, a character, a movie, and they all have their unique way of producing that conversation.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny because everyone in you listen to a lot of podcasts, and everyone's a super fan in a different way. Like if you listen to Dad Bats, you're talking guys building stuff and this and that. Where you listen to these some other podcasts, they're like they know every comic book and every
Yep.
and it's just neat to see how people express themselves. um I'm getting more into the comic books, like, but I used to listen. They don't have a podcast. I think they changed it over to pop culture podcast or something like that. But it used to be called Rogue One, WON, not ONE. um and they were really big into action figures, like the original 12, and so that was their big thing. And it's just neat to hear that though some people might think you and I are idiots for what we spend on our costumes, there's someone who's thought of as an idiot for what they spend on toys.
Oh
You know what I
goodness.
mean?
I mean, there are people who will spend big money on um, boxes and card backs, or
Yep.
even more money on prototypes
Yep.
and I don't know what they're called, but almost like the blanks that they used
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make the original molds and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean, there's a niche for every geek.
And I like the understanding that a lot of these people have. Like they realize, well, this is my thing. And then a lot of times they'll have a guest on that it's not their thing. And like to me, the toys bring back nostalgia, but I don't. I think maybe because I like to look at my displays, and like I like the Black Series and stuff like that, but I like the big stuff. Like I see I'm slowly whittling down the smaller stuff. Like one of these days I'm just going to lose it, and all the pops will just be out of my house. Because I'm just getting tired of the little stuff. And I think reason, like in my house, the reason we went from the toys to pops was pops were nicer to display because you didn't have to open them. You just stack them and they look nice. Where some of the
Yeah.
action figures, depending on what action figure you buy, you have to open it. And if you don't open it and you display it, which is fine, it does, at least in my opinion, my most nostalgic is like I think of my first C3PO and how I had to meticulously stand him up because once that paint wore off, he just wanted to fall. And I remember doing that.
Well, what's funny is when we were talking to the three toy makers from Kenner and Hasbro, they described pops as decor.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even really describe them as collectibles or toys. It's not like the action figures. You don't have the same, and the phrase that they use is toyetic. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have the same kind of playability. I've never seen a toddler, a tween, an adult taking two Funko Pops together and say, "Okay, Han Solo,
Exactly.
let's get in the Falcon and go on an adventure." But
Yep.
those 3 3/4 inch figures, or even some of the Black Series figures, I've seen folks do that kind of role playing with them.
Yeah, like I feel like my girls were the last generation to play with action figures. Like Sappy's 20, 19, and it seemed like it I think the smartphone, I hate to sound like an old fart, but the smartphone kind of give other options to parents, you know. But my kids and the Clone Wars action figures are what the original 12 were for us. And the Clone Wars, as much as everyone likes to talk about the original action figures, during the Clone Wars, to me, that seems like the heyday of action figures. Not to hurt anyone's feelings that made the originals, but you would watch it on the show, and that next week they would be in Target. You know,
Yeah, and there would be lots of them. I mean, they
yeah,
had play sets and combo packs, and
and they weren't crazy price. Like I remember buying the girls, like it was like a walker versus like a droid, and it came with some pieces. It was like $20. It was like a big. And yeah, they went nuts on those for the longest time. They were just but that's what again, back to bring it back around the podcast. It's just neat to see everyone's love of the same thing. You know. And then the walking encyclopedias I know of, you and Sal. That's my West Coast and East Coast walking encyclopedias.
Yeah, and what's funny is most of my encyclopedic interest isn't so much about the characters or the ships or the weapons or anything like that. It's the behind the scenes. How was this made?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you and
Yeah,
Sal are like the you could be like the the two sides
the
of the
Laurel and
coin.
Hardy.
You know, it'd be the you know,
Because even Andor, when I watched Andor,
yeah,
I I was you can't help but pick up on some of these visual connections to other things.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's wonderful to see at least that thread of Star Wars continuing on with the stuff that's being made. They're respecting the the inspiration that George and his teams brought to it, and they're continuing it, even to the fact that it seems like they're leading on some of the same things that inspired those original makers.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, I'm trying to think of who there is. Nick Hall. Have you ever talked to Nicholas Hall?
Not yet. I think I recently friended him with your suggestion, but I haven't spent much time chatting with him.
Because he would be he would be the costume version of you and Sal, in the sense that he can find and explain everything, the most simple costume. Like he's just like a walking encyclopedia of that too. I think he's in charge somewhere in the Delaware garrison, but he's another one, which that I just respect that people, because I feel like sometimes, for no better use of words, I like a lot of stuff and I kind of half-ass a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I go quantity over quality, maybe sometimes when I probably shouldn't.
Or
Um,
Speed.
or speed. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to show you I got my, I guess we're done podcasting because we're going to be talking about other things, but I got my robe. We'll go into what we're making and then we'll see. Because John wanted us to wait for trooping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see if I have a. Do I have a ticker for that? I got tickers everywhere here. Troop time, no. Podcast time, no. Unifying Fandom Network, which is always. And what are we watching? DT Costume Corner. There we go. So we got a cool name for our stuff. But I'll have to post these pictures up. But Wendy Darling made my robe. This is her Mando pilot. And I've looked at this card so much because it's becoming one of my favorite looking costumes. Have you ever seen her
Not
Mando?
that I'm aware of.
It is because it's super colorful, but it doesn't. And you know, I'm not knocking anyone's custom Mando, but sometimes people, their color schemes kind of undo what they've done. Does that make sense?
Oh goodness, yeah.
And her custom Mando. This I assume it's a custom one because I've never seen it, but it has so much color, but it looks like it all belongs. It's just a beautiful um custom Mando. I don't know what the West Virginia clan is. So, but it's the Black Mountain Guard. That's what it is. I'll have to scan this picture and send it to you. But her stuff, and I got my robes from her. So if anyone's listening, Wendy Darling on Facebook. That's and I'm sure that I'm not making light of anyone else's sewing abilities, but she has never let me down on any of the. Like she made the Empire Strikes Back Vader robe is pleated, so it has to have these long pleats, and they're perfect. So
That's awesome.
I wish I would have had it for that wedding. It would have been awesome to have a Vader there. I think if Vader and Chewie would have showed up, I think they both would have just fainted. I can't talk anymore about that because we'll ruin it for John.
You're lucky I didn't make you sign an NDA.
I know, right? Yeah. Then we could just say,
That event we went to.
Yes, but I've just been working on my chest box. Like I spent probably 3 hours off and on sanding the chest box for Vader. I am so paranoid about print lines that I'm worried I'm going to sand a hole in it.
Why haven't you tried the acetone and Bondo yet?
I will on something else. I don't want my first thing to be my chest box. I'll probably do on one of the belt things because I have it like glass. I have the face is like glass. I'm just working on the edges, and I don't want to undo the
Well,
glass.
because it's such a small area, I mean, it would make a great test place.
Maybe. I think I'm gonna test the. I'm gonna test that on. I still have my. I never. I when I cleaned my garage, I found my Boba Fett bucket. I'm like, I never finished Boba Fett. I have the chest armor and everything done. I found my Boba Fett helmet. I was like, where was I thinking? I have all the stuff. So I did my biker scout. I'm just getting stuff out of the garage. So like as much as people are like, well, who cares about the biker scout? It's just like one thing that I knew I was never going to wear it, but it was in a space. So it was just done, put there, and so I'm just trying to bang some stuff out. And I'm starting to get orders for 3PO heads, like some one piece. I have a one piece mold that I'm working on. So that's, I told some people, look, I'm going to try to have it done by Christmas. So that mold's going to take me probably, because it's getting cold, probably take me like 2 weeks to get done. But I'm going to make a one piece 3PO. So if anyone wants one, I can just slush it. And I'm trying to make this mold perfect. So when you get it, I won't have to say, well, you'll have to sand it. You literally just have to paint it and it'll be done. That's the plan.
Nice.
So I'm gonna coat it with 2K, make it nice and shiny. So, but that's all I'm working on.
So I'm still working on my post-imperial. I think this weekend there's going to be an armor party. Well, not I think, but there will be an armor party with the Pennsylvania Mando Mercs.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be part armor party and part Life Day celebration.
Right.
So like a potluck sort of thing. Are you going to head up to that?
I probably not, but maybe. I don't know. It's weird with out Zoe there. I feel like I'm like the oddball out because I'm not really a Mando yet.
Yeah, but if you think about all the for those of you out there, UM is unofficial members. There's a number of those folks. Plus, there's the people who are working on their stuff to become official members. So you won't be the odd man out. You'll be the odd man in. You'll be just like every other weirdo.
Yeah, I have to check. I might. I'll see. I might. Maybe. Sappy's back to work at Dutch Wonderland, so I'll have to see what my weekend looks like. That's not because I could bring my Fett helmet and finish it. So
I don't think that was meant for us.
No, I think it was. I think someone's just spamming us. Let's see. Is there a way to? There's always.
I didn't realize you got discovered. I thought that was just for like the big time shows.
Yeah, no. Someone was like, "Oh, well, I really can't spam the good places. Let me spam these two fools talking about Star Wars." Let me see if there's a way. I think. Well, I can do this. Let's see. Where's my? I can do chat. Turn this off. Turn it back on. Oh, it still shows up. Really? Ah, here we go. See if it gives me. Nope, does not give me. They're not sponsors of ours. Here we go. Yeah. Block user in YouTube. There we go. Block user on YouTube. Block user on YouTube.
Yeah, so part of the day will be armor party. So I'm bringing my my one blaster rifle that I want to work on, and I'm going to need some help engineering a backpack because what I want to create I've never seen before, and so I need some help engineering it.
Now, so what do you want it to look like?
So, do you remember the backpack that Baze Malbus had in Rogue One?
Yeah.
So it almost looked like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Canister on his back that had a chain that went to his blaster.
Yeah.
So I want it to be similar to that. So I want a center cylindrical piece, And then on either side of it, I want there to be pockets. One pocket for a sword
Mm-hmm.
and one pocket for the actual blaster. That way, when I pull the blaster off, the chain is still connected to the tank.
Well, you know what would
Um,
make a good? What are you using for a chain?
I'm using little rectangular pieces of high density foam,
Oh, okay.
and I've drilled 3 holes in them. There'll be 2 holes on the outside that will be like solid tubing, black tubing,
Right.
and then down the center of it will be clear tubing. And what I was going to do down the center of the clear tubing is run EL wire.
Oh, right. Oh, awesome. Awesome.
That way, so in the cylindrical portion of my backpack, I want a section of it to be opened where
Mm-hmm.
I can wind some blue EL wire within that, so the center part of the cylinder glows blue, and then the
Right.
cable from the chain from the backpack to the actual blaster will have a blue light up.
Well, before you put that, but how big's the hose? Like, how big's the tubing?
It's small.
Oh, okay. Because I was
Yeah.
going to say, if you made a big tubing, you could run um, the LED strips.
Yeah, this is thin.
Okay. Yeah, I know what the
Yeah.
wire is. So I watched a guy build a backpack because I've been wanting to build a clone backpack. And I know there's 3D printed files for them and stuff like that. But I watched a guy build one out of cardboard. He basically made the clone backpack out of cardboard templates
Mhm.
with tape. He did all that. Then he brushed the whole thing with fiberglass and made a beautiful backpack with, for not too terribly much work. And so if you made a backpack the shape you wanted out of cardboard and use your tape, then once you brush fiberglass on it and then put all your stuff on it, you could make it any shape you want, and that thing would be relatively light and really durable.
Yeah, and that's the for me the problem is how do I engineer it properly to do what I want it to do and still be wearable?
Well, that's
Like I have a bunch of like drawings, I just don't know how. And the folks that I've asked for help with on this so far have been, what's the kind way of describing it? Um, they've
not
been less than helpful.
well. So I'm like seriously. So but do you want it selling like round like a vacuum cleaner?
Sort of. So this is what I had in mind. So I would have that centerpiece be one of those cardboard mailing tubes
Yep.
that's cut maybe 18 to 22 inches
So
long,
how big? Like that big around?
maybe 3 or 4 inches. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah. So not huge,
right,
and at the same time not small. So maybe,
right,
yeah, I'd say maybe 4 inches in
right.
in diameter. That would be the centerpiece, and then on either side would be attached squares
Yeah.
that are, yeah, but everyone I've shown my drawings to, and I've described the thought process behind it, like, oh, good luck.
No, see, like when I built Zoe's first pistol holsters for Sabine, they were cereal boxes covered with pleather. Right? I just cut the shapes out in squares, made it with duct tape, and then covered it with pleather. You could probably do the same thing with your squares. Like go in your cupboard and look for a box that's close to the same shape. Because what's nice about that thin cardboard that's in food boxes compared to like corrugated cardboard, when you put that fiberglass in, it's going to soak that up. And when it dries, it's going to be pretty rigid. And then you just put a light coat. You could put like, I would just make a duct tape prototype of everything, or not. I wouldn't use duct tape. I would use masking tape.
Masking tape, like that cloth
So
masking tape.
so
Okay.
it'll, because the duct tape won't, that might be problematic with the fiberglass, you know. And then just get a small thing of fiberglass and some I don't know if I'd use the sheets. I'd probably use the really pain in the neck stuff that you kind of pull apart, because you can work with that a little better. And because normally when I do fiberglass, I get a tub, and all your material that you're going to fiberglass, like the the cloth or whatever, I chop it up ahead of time into small pieces.
Yep.
And then I just have a brush. I brush a couple inches, take a little piece, and then don't go big. Just do it all tiny so you don't get air bubbles. And I bet you'd be surprised. And fiberglass isn't crazy priced that if you get the whole thing done and it's not quite what you want, you can either just cut it off. And the plus with fiberglass, you as long as you have a respirator, just cut it off with a grinder and you can just add what you want. That's what I think I would try personally. Put a back frame. I would. You probably want to, since it's a Mando. You know the shape of Boba Fett's jetpack, like that back
Yep.
piece. You probably want to make that out of something like cardboard, and then build it off of that, so it has that Mando appearance to it.
Yeah, I was even thinking of using the expanded PVC, the Sintra.
Yeah,
because that's I mean that's what a lot of people make their armor out of. That's what people make their gauntlets out of.
yeah. I think the only thing I would say fiberglass would be better is, and I just know it from guys doing sand troopers, you tend to back into everything with your backpack. And if you have expanded PVC, depending on how you have it connected, you could wind up, just one misturn or backing up, and you could like crack. Fiberglass. If you do a nice thing of fiberglass, it's not going to go anywhere, and it'll still be very light. That would be my 2 cents. What's nice about that, you could probably even incorporate the expanded PVC in some of the details for those crisp details. Like when you have it all built and you just want to put like some like lines in it, cut some pieces and stuff.
Yeah, some greeblies or features or something like that.
Yeah. So
that's where
cool,
I'm
excited. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I want my post-Imperial Mando to be one of these guys who's just armed to the teeth.
Yeah.
Multiple blasters, the big rifle, a sword. I've got a hunter knife that I want to figure out how to attach to my gauntlet.
Nice.
The little darts on my gauntlet. The knee rockets and things like that.
Well, the Liberator pistols that Mando used. And
the little holdouts.
Yeah, the holdout. Well, yeah, they were the ones that didn't they throw them out of planes in World War II, if I remember correctly?
I think so, yeah.
They were just zip guns. They were literally a zip gun. Like you put one bullet in it, you shoot someone and take their bigger gun. That's the whole point of it, zip gun. But I always thought if you could make a gauntlet that would have like the Gambler's Derringer, you know what I mean? Like you hold your hand out and then the gun appears in your hand. But I guess if you're pointing your gauntlet at someone, a gun in your hand is probably the least of your.
Well, it depends. I mean, do you have the flamethrower? Do you have the whistling birds? Do you have
That's true.
The rocket launcher or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to do a custom Mando, but I have to just I'm really trying to keep blinders on and just not start anything new.
For me, unfortunately, like the custom Mando got started before I had it in my head of wanting to do the Pinto version of Din.
Yeah. Well, I think the Din thing we'll have to talk about, but I think I'm going to start with the chest. I just ordered 10 spools of new filament because the company I was using, they didn't go out of business, but I don't know what happened. But I found a new company that took over their distribution, and the filament price was like $9.50 a roll with and that's shipping and everything. So I just ordered a case of 10. So once that gets here, we'll have Din parts a rolling.
Nice.
So, and to get the price, just so you realize, so you don't think I'm doing anything great, I just printed a set of horns for a guy at work with some of the filament I had because it was weird colors, and they're big. $1.35 a piece is what they cost to print.
Oh my god!
Because so when I get the filament, right, I put the price in the slicer, and then it tells me what it costs to print something.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, it's, and I know when people sell stuff, they when they do it as a business, they incorporate my electricity and they incorporate all the wear and tear on my machine. I understand all that. But when I'm printing, I don't do it as a business. So I mainly just worry about the how much filament I use. But you'll be amazed at how, because like I said, I'll do the chest piece first, and I think if it's as nice as I think I have my printer set to extremely slow. Like if you would ask me to print the chess piece for you like a year ago, it would have taken like a day and a half. I have it set that chess piece will probably take a week to print, but we'll do less work on the back end. That's just
Nice.
the settings I'm running right now. So, but
has there
anyway,
been any costumes from Andor that you think you'd want to do?
it would be the Shore Trooper.
Yeah,
I would love to do an officer, but I think part of why I like costuming is, I don't when I like to be like I'm at that age where I look in the mirror sometime and I'm like I don't feel as old as my face looks. Yeah, not in a you know what I'm saying like I just like being
who is that guy?
yeah and so I just like I can just be a stormtrooper and it doesn't matter and so I like the shore trooper. I like the ISB. They're growing on me, and I think the show has made me is because I've never really honestly like if someone gave me an Imperial officer uniform up till now, I'd be like I don't want it. But after seeing the ISB, and I just like, and I think it goes along with just Krennic too, like that just kind of
Yeah. For me, I think the ISB would be more impressive with just a bunch of them.
Yes.
With a Krennic, with a Yularen, or with an Emperor or something like that. The one that I've thought about most recently, and it's on my screen here, is I think it'd be cool to get a bunch of people to do the prison outfits.
Yeah.
Because they seem very simple, they seem very plain, and we all have had that experience of wanting to just leave work,
Right,
jumping out of a big prison.
Maybe that'll be like the running of the hoods. There'll be a jumping in a swimming pool.
Yeah, you just have people running around the con, one way out, one way out, one way out.
So hi,
the
John.
Random person says on program.
Howdy, gents.
Yeah, we were holding off on troop time. I almost ruined it, but we were holding off.
Thank you. I need to hear all about Friday.
Yeah, Friday was good, man.
Well, it was the day after Thursday, the day before Saturday.
Okay, so we can talk troop time now. We were just talking costume corner. Are you working on anything, John?
Not currently. I've made a little progress towards starting my TK. That's
nice.
Really all that means is I have talked to people in my garrison that we might start an armor party.
That counts.
All right. John's going to bring the slushy machine to Ohio.
Do you still have that droid spike that I was going to buy from you?
I still have the file, yes. I need to print it.
Oh, okay. I thought you had it.
Okay. No, I've got the files for it.
Us 3D printer people, we have it all. We just don't have it printed yet. That's just my boss just bought a 3D printer, and I said, you're going to hate me and love me at the same time once you get all this stuff rolling, because it changes how you look at things. Because everything is like, yeah, I think I can 3D print that, and then you never do, or it sits in a box unfinished forever.
Yeah, actually, I have something not for me for Costume Corner.
What's that?
We are slowly but surely putting all the pieces together for my dad's 501st Director Krennic.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
So I think the only thing that we have left because we ordered the boots, the pants, the proper belt, and the holster, and the code cylinders. So the only thing I have left to do is I have to print them the DLT 19.
Wait, the DLT 19, is that the
one with the sight on the side?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, his left-handed cross draw blaster.
Yeah. I always thought. So this is kind of costuming. You know how we have a lot of guys that do TIE pilots, and they have the same pistol as Han, right? Whatever that model of it is. I always thought the pilot should have that pistol that's never used by stormtroopers in New Hope, but all the promotion pistols. It's the one like Lando had. That to me looks more like a pilot gun. I don't know why. That's just me being dumb, but you know.
Well, and it would be different than the one that Han had.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, especially now that we know the story of how Han got it.
Right, right. Anyway. All right, so troop time. What do we got? John, did you troop?
I did, but I want to hear about your guys' troop first.
Okay,
Oh,
so
man.
is it okay if I give you the backstory of how this troop came to be?
Absolutely.
All right,
Wait a
so-
minute, but before you start, I also want to hear how week work was this week because I know you had to get a lot
Actually,
of
no, nothing. 'Cause
really.
I think
What?
I think yeah, we'll get there. We'll get
Okay,
there.
okay.
Let's not
All right.
put the cart before the horse. So on May 4th this year, I was teaching classes for work. It was a full day of classes, and I asked my boss for permission to wear a Star Wars costume to work. And so I wore a generic Jedi, and I brought Star Wars helmets with me and lightsabers with me. And during some of the classes, either before the class or after the class, people took pictures with me in costume and took pictures of each other with the swords and stuff like that. And two of the people that came into class said, do you ever go anywhere dressed in Star Wars costumes? I said, yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I've been known to do that sort of thing. And so they asked if there was any way that I could gather some people together for a friend's wedding, a friend / coworker's wedding. And so I asked when. They said November, so it gave us lots of time to plan. And so this past Friday, November 11th, 2022, we trooped at this wedding, and it was a Star Wars themed wedding. And I don't mean just that they say it was a Star Wars themed wedding. I mean, they had a drink list at the bar that was Star Wars themed. The place settings were Find Your Squadron. The groomsmen all had boutonnieres with the Millennium Falcon on it. I thought they were going to have rank badges, but they changed those. There were Lego centerpieces, Lego Star Wars centerpieces. The cake had a Boba Fett helmet, or a Rebel Legion sigil or symbol, and the Jedi symbol. And the bridesmaids and the bride had bouquets of flowers with Star Wars lightsaber hilts. Plus, they had Star Wars lightsabers all over the place. So, me, Mike, Marty, our friend Ned, our other friend Abigail, and our friend Chad all agreed to show up at this wedding. And I need to tell everyone that the bride and groom knew nothing about this. They did all the other planning, and the two bridesmaids worked with me, and I worked with all of you to show up at this place in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. And so we all got dressed up, and as we're getting dressed up, and we're trying really hard to be secretive because we're coming out during dinner. And weirdly enough, oddly enough, and I don't know how or why this happened, our changing room was 2 rooms away from where the wedding party had their get away from everything space. And so we're almost all kitted up, and we get a knock on the door, and it's a kid who might have been 8 or 9 years old, and one of the grooms, there's stormtroopers in there. And come to find out, it was the bride's son. So we almost got spoiled. The secret almost got let out, but we brought him into the room and we said, listen, you can't say anything about this. This has got it. And at that point, the bridesmaids who were helping keep us surprised were in there and were doing their best to help this young guy make sure it was a secret. So we get all kitted up, we go downstairs, and the DJ makes an announcement that he's sensing some positive energy in the force. And they open up the door, and the 6 of us march in to this space, and the bride and groom just lose it, just go bonkers. In fact, Mike, do you have the video that I sent you about it? Do you have that?
I don't know if I have it on this computer. Let me see. Hang on. Did you send it to me with text or?
I think I just sent it to you as is.
I mean, did you send it in Facebook text?
Yes.
Okay, I think I can pull that out. Hang on. Keep talking, Ken. Give me a few.
Yeah, and so the bride went completely bonkers at our entrance, and we spent about 2 hours or so taking pictures and dancing with the crowd. Well, Chewbacca did a lot of dancing, and our scout trooper did a lot of
Yeah,
dancing.
Chad was getting into it.
Here, I think this might be the one. So I'm going to send this to you, or send it to.
Yeah, my Facebook is not being my friend right now.
Is it ever?
I know you would think for taking over the world they would at least is that the video? No. Oh, there it is. Wait a minute. Is that the one with just Chewie standing there? No, that's an.
Well, that was one of the funny ones. But if you want to play that one,
I think that's the only video I got.
I'll see if I can find another one.
Let me see. Yeah, see if it lets me. Oh, there we go. Let's see.
Let me see if I can do. But it was a lot of fun. The catering help got pictures with all of us. Oh, there's the little guy. Yep.
Yeah.
The catering team got in pictures with us. The DJ got in pictures with us.
Mike,
I'm just standing. I was, man. I had such a good time, but there was a couple times I fogged up, man. I was just like, I don't, because it went from like jet black to like the one spot. It was like completely black. Like I couldn't see with I got to put lighter lenses in that helmet or something. But yeah, that was a good, man. That was, So anyway, so Ken, you keep going. We surprised them. We danced.
we surprised. They had us in the photographs when they were cutting their cake.
They wanted us.
Oh my god!
Like for me, it was over the top. Like I expected them to be surprised. I expected them to be appreciative, but to include the 6 of us in all of those things that are now going to be memorialized as part of their wedding from now until the end of time is quite incredible to me. And for me, the best part of it was being able to do it with 5 people that I appreciate and respect. And thank so much for, because like I said, this was just one of those random things that 2 people asked if it was possible, and I reached out to the Galaxy, and the Galaxy provided me with 5 amazing people to show up on this day. None of the other people that were with us knew the bride and groom or any of the wedding party, and they legit tore the roof off the place when we walked through the door.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, I just remember it was funny because they had the cake in a special little room, and they're like, they moved people away and set Chewie and us like right behind the cakes. So every picture of that cake, there's a Stormtrooper, Biker Scout, Chewie, Mandos, and Jaina Solo is in all the pictures. So
that's awesome. I love that for you guys. I wish I could have made it.
It was weird though, because like when I put it in my GPS, it was like hour and 5 minutes or something like that. I get home from work, put it in my GPS. It's an hour and 35 minutes because it was raining and stuff like that, and traffic was heavy. And I was like, and then we got there. It was nice. It wasn't too hot. The venue was, other than the pitch black darkness, and then I made a mistake of stepping in front of the speaker right when the DJ started blaring something. So there was like 5 minutes I couldn't hear what anyone said. So, but yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. We had,
Yeah,
And we were there 2 hours at least. Like it was,
absolutely incredible. The other fun part for me. Oh, my mic went weird.
being attacked by the half drunken. No, there were some very friendly, inebriated people there. So,
there was a whole picture or set of pictures we took with just work folks. So that was really cool. And to Mike's question earlier, was I inundated with people talking about it? Not so much, or at least not that I've experienced yet this week.
Is my echo still there? My headphones.
I don't think so. Yeah, still a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me move this away. How about now?
Let's try it again. I don't hear it now.
Go now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, I think it's just my headphones. Yeah, I was surprised, Ken. I was just waiting to hear. But that's good. That was fun. That was definitely a really good troop.
I'm shocked nobody said anything.
And maybe it's just that they haven't come back to work since then.
That's true too.
Because I don't know if the bride and groom went away on their honeymoon or anything like that.
You give them a Grogu. You forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'd made a white baby Bjorn and got a card and had everybody sign it and gave them a Grogu. So when we came into the space, presented that to the bride and groom as a gift. And then they went berserk and wanted to get pictures and hugs from everybody that was there, or give hugs to everybody that was there.
And was it Jaina Solo saved the day? Because I think her lightsaber is what kept that little guy from going and telling.
Yeah, she had promised to let him pose with the lightsaber later if he kept it a secret.
Yeah. He was so proud about keeping that 10-minute secret.
Yeah, because afterwards, when we were getting all ready to go, he came up to us and like there was a bar area right before the place where the dance floor and the dinner tables were, and he came up to us at one point and said, "See, I didn't tell anybody. I did good, right?" So he was very excited about the fact that he managed to keep it all a secret.
It was fun, and then it was kind of cool because we were there, and we gave out all that happiness, and then we just left anonymously. You know what I mean? Like it was just like we were here and then we were gone. It just was a perfect night, you know.
Yep, didn't need to be anything else other than that.
Yeah.
No fanfare. I mean, everyone was very appreciative, and
right.
I mean, from the bridesmaids who organized it to the bride and the groom. I think Chewie even danced with someone's grandmom.
Oh yeah.
Like who might have been all of about 5'2" versus the 7 foot whatever of Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Just out on the dance floor cutting a rug.
Yeah, that was definitely a good time.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I wish I could have made it. Darn Black Panther weekend.
Well, you know, if you had to miss it for any movie, that's a pretty good.
I still haven't seen it.
You'll like it.
Yeah, is that it for the wedding troop?
I think so.
I'm still trying to find that video that I can share with you guys.
Well,
all right, let's hear your troop.
Well, I did a library troop that I didn't realize was a library troop until the day before, when they were like, "Yeah, it's at the Brooklyn Public Library," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes things a little bit better." It was the best turnout, costume-wise, for a library event that I've seen.
Really?
Yeah. Hang on, let me. Also, off topic, but 1 year ago today, Marty got us the pictures from our first fan film that keeps popping up in my memories.
I know, right? A year. That's like,
that's right. There we are. So we had a oh God, what are they called? What is the black shirt officer?
Thai Reserve?
No, it's an actual officer.
Oh, I don't know.
Either way, we had an Imperial officer, obviously Kylo, 2 TKs, TIE pilot, 2 Jawas, a mechanical engineer, and a Vader.
Nice. Yeah, I liked your pictures with Vader. They were awesome.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was a Toys for Tots drive, and for the first hour, nobody cared that we were there because there was nobody at the library at 11 o'clock in the morning apparently. But yeah, and then the second hour came and like it was nonstop pictures. Like everyone was super excited that we were there. They had a green screen set up so people could take like there were live green screen pictures. Whatever software the guy was using was really cool. So, but yeah, it was a really nice event. We got a lot of, I think we got like 65 pictures or something like that from a library event. The two, I think it's funny though. If we would have had a Revan, we would have had every single Darth Vader there.
Except Revan would have been called Kylo.
True. But yeah, literally the first person that I saw walk in while we were kitted up in costume, it was like, I don't know. I'm bad with kids' ages, so maybe like 10 years old. Just walks up to the 2 stormtroopers. Hi, stormtroopers. Turns around, looks at me. Hi, Darth Vader. I just looked at the 2 TKs and I was like, he's gonna be in for such a treat when he sees that Darth Vader is actually here. But we ended up getting, the 3 of us ended up getting a picture. The TIE pilot, Vader, and I. We ended up getting a picture where we all had lightsabers, and it was just pick your Darth Vader. But yeah, because we were all talking about it though. We've got 2 really good Vaders in our squad that are kind of breaking the stereotypes of, Vaders only bring out their costumes for high profile events. They never carry a lightsaber, and all those sort of general stereotypes about 501st Vaders. So
that's good.
It was nice to see a Vader with a lightsaber at a very small scale event.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a shortage of Vaders for a little while. But we have like Chris Freed, who does an awesome Vader. He was a good Vader. Marty just doesn't do his Vader because he likes doing Chewie. And then we have a guy named Chris Rem, and he just does one event a year now, and he carries his Vader in a suitcase, and he just shows up, suits up, Vader's it, and then suits down and disappears. Like you only see him, he's like a mystery Vader. He just does one event a year, and
that's too funny. I did manage to find that video. Do you guys want to see if I can share it properly?
Well, can you post it up on another screen and share your screen, and I can turn it on? It might be easier.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. I'm hoping that the sound comes through. Can you hear it okay?
I cannot hear anything.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for this format because I think it's glitchy a little bit, but we'll put it up somewhere. But man, yeah, it was so neat because they were just both so like, not, like sometimes I think that weddings are stressful on the people actually getting married, and that was definitely a highlight for them. I always like trooping weddings with Marty because he does like two as a photographer does two a weekend most times. So he's like a wedding expert. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Of course, you got to hug Chewie.
Yeah, it was like a sea of cell phones, man. And I've been trooping long enough before the advent of the good cell phone. We would do troops, and you would have people calling people to bring cameras. Like, we didn't know they were going to be here. Someone get here with a camera, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And people on the old days, people would have those really bad flip phones, and they'd be like, "Okay, I got to delete some pictures." So they're like deleting their kid's birth so they could take a picture of a stormtrooper.
That was it.
That is
That's
good,
awesome.
Ken. I can't wait. We should have come up with a hashtag or something just so they could have tagged it, and we could, like, all the people there, just tag your photos with this tags so we can look it up. But I said to Ken, we lost Ken. Ken left. I said to Ken, we really should submit it to Star Wars Insider.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be great.
Because of the surprise and because, we should just be wedding crashers. We should start our own group. We're just Star Wars wedding crashers.
Oh my! I'm sure Lucasfilm would have a ball with that.
We just be like, we just need 12 hours notice. If you have a Star Wars fan getting married, we'll just show up.
Yeah, we will make your wedding better.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice. It's nice. We did that Star Wars wedding the other week, and to put it in perspective, the Star Wars wedding we did the other week, which was super Star Wars, like their clothing was Star Wars and everything. They just wanted us for some pictures, and then they were done with us. Like, we could have probably stayed at that wedding with Ken. We could have probably stayed there all night, and they would have been more than happy.
They had some of us stationed over in the photo booth.
Yeah,
because people were coming in and out of the photo booth getting pictures with different people.
Yeah.
And at one point, the groom said to me, you guys are more than welcome to stay for the after party, but I didn't know how long you guys were willing to hang out.
But I had a good time. If I would have stayed for the after party, I probably wouldn't have woke up Saturday, because it was like a long week for me anyway. And man, when I got home, normally I have never left my armor in my car overnight, and I just locked my car doors and prayed for the best and went to bed. So it's back where it belongs. So,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That was special for me beyond true measure.
And and I was saying, Ken, when you were there, I said we should just start a Star Wars wedding crasher group where someone can just anonymously call 12 hours before a wedding and we just show up, Well, it's the heart of trooping. It's so, John did the Toys for Tots, and we're just, you only do it. It could be just for one person. Like, out of all that group, we made so many people happy. But for all there was someone at that wedding that just really didn't want to be there because either they had a bad week or just sometimes, like, weddings aren't people's thing. And we made a lot of people happy. And it was weird because at least what I saw, it was like there was no demographic of age or male or female. Like, everyone wanted a picture. And then there's some couples where the one person took a picture, and then the one person, I guess, didn't realize the other person wanted a picture too. They're like, no, I want one too. So,
and there was no egotistical, arrogant, self-centered fanfare. Like, oh no, like hold on, let me elbow in so I can get this picture. Like,
Yep.
it was equal love shared with absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there were people coming over saying that they wanted to get pictures with the guy in red.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
in
yeah.
Ned's costume with all 97 pieces.
Dude,
And
that is one incredible Mandalorian costume. I mean,
yeah, it's remarkable, that thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then there were people that wanted to get pictures with the Lady Jedi. I mean, it was.
Yep.
It was.
She was the bravest of all because she had to show her fate. You know what I mean? Like, that's the toughest job when you're at an event, especially like that, because we could just become anonymous, and I mean, it just like, I'm just a stormtrooper, you know. So.
Yep. Yeah,
and that was a deep cut, Jaina Solo, and I heard a couple people knew who it was. So
really.
Yeah, the one guy I saw him saying to his girlfriend, "That's Jaina." So now maybe someone told him, but I was like, because with your TK bucket, you can either hear nothing, or I get weird sound pockets. Like, I can't hear someone right in front of me talking, but there'll be someone like 6 feet away, diagonal from me, talking the other direction. I can hear every word they're saying. So I don't know if it's just the way the bucket is, or if I just got crazy old man hearing or something. But there's weird pockets of hearing, you know.
That's too funny. Dog is scratching at the door. I'll be right back.
Okay. And then everyone wants to do all kinds of hand gestures with you in that cone of I can't see. I just put out my fist for a fist bump because I don't want to like swat someone in the wrong spot, or to put my fist out for a fist bump because I can't see. You know.
Yeah. I think it's funny. The TKs at our library event were like, you know, I'm so jealous of you. You know, your helmet doesn't fog up, and I was like, yeah, my helmet might not fog up. However, since it's mesh, all I can see are colored blobs.
Yeah,
it's like crossing your eyes and trying to focus.
Yeah. Well, my problem is with the TK. I tend to just close one eye a lot of the times, and I got to be careful of that because it always looks like I'm looking to the right and I'm really looking straight ahead. So I got to consciously, and it's mainly with this bucket. My old bucket was bigger. It just wasn't as accurate. So I have to consciously, you know, but yeah. Well, I mean,
see, I've got the same
TK, so
yeah. See, I've got the same problem, except for it's not that I have to close one eye. It's I have to be mindful of my hood because, like, when you're standing in like a group picture, you know, your natural instinct is kind of like to turn to the side and, you know, look at an angle. But then the entirety of my mask is covered by by the hood, so I got to like turn my shoulders and turn my head.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the because I'm at the point where you are with like building your TK. I'm at the point like I really know that I'm only one troop away from when something breaks on my FX armor that it's unwearable, and so I know that I have to, you know, get my Anovos kit done, and I keep thinking Anovos, when they first were talking about making a TK, they were going to have this innovative Under Armor that you put on and had all these tabs on it, and the armor attached to that, so no armor attached to itself. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I keep thinking, man, I wonder if there's a way I can do that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Well, because I'm thinking, like, if I took Under Armor, right, or like if I took a heavier Under Armor, which would, you know, that in and of itself lends itself to some problems. But if I took Under Armor, and so like if I sewed tabs on, like right here, like if I sewed a strap underneath and had tabs, so then the ab and back plate connect right there.
Yeah.
And then they, you know, and then just have, instead of having a belt that holds the legs, sew tabs on the shirt. You know, I've thought about it. I'm just trying to think, like, how could I make TK armor better? Because I've been wearing it since 2007, and I've made some things better, you know.
Right.
So, because it would be so cool to just be able to snap it on and go to town.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be you.
We'll see. I just want to make, because like I said, mine's just got a lot of miles. My Sand Trooper I love, but I definitely have to keep my TK up and rolling. So
yeah, but I mean, you're gonna have Vader soon.
Yeah, Vader, I'm excited.
You're gonna want to wear it.
The inner robe is beautiful. Wendy sent me the inner robe. I was talking about her custom Mando. Her custom Mando. I'm building a stack of cards to send you. I went through all my 7 years of cards to see if I had any duplicates and stuff.
Oh my god!
Random people. I don't have many, but I have some. Like I have some of Toga's old cards and stuff like that. I have cards everywhere. I just got to figure out where they're all at.
Yeah, I will be more than grateful. I've got a whole binder that I need to fill.
Yeah. I took your cards and made a TikTok with them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I tagged you in it. I think it's up. I can't remember. I was doing way too many things at once. Right before we started, I was just Wednesdays. Oh, I got another troop then to tell you guys about. It wasn't technically a troop, but a guy brought his R2 to my robotics league, and I put some of the pictures up. But if you know anything about R2s, almost no one makes an R2 that stands upright.
Mm-hmm.
Right? His stands upright. Like it'll stand upright. And he made it all on his own. Like he took some help from Droid Builders, but he's an engineer at Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And it is and I see R2s every weekend. His is all aluminum inside. And I know how, like, I understand how he did it, but I don't quite know. He built a website that runs HTML code, and then that website bounces off of his controller, and that's how he programs his controller. So in real time, he can change what controls do what.
Wow.
And then he built.
Yeah, that's taking it to a whole nother level.
And then the cart he built to carry it on is even. I put pictures of it on Facebook. The cart he built to carry it on is crazy impressive.
I saw it had like the shoulder holders. Like
the shoulders come down. They lock in place.
Naboo cruiser.
Yeah, and it has it's set up to charge R2 when he's plugged in, and it's also set up that if it's not plugged in, R2 can run power to all the little gizmos on it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did the kids enjoy it, or did you?
Oh,
you enjoyed it more?
The kids. So my robotics team is like 8 kids. They range from, I think my youngest is 8th grade, and my oldest ones are in 10th. So it's, even though I teach middle school, I started this robotics team for kids 7th to 12th grade. And once the kids in, they're never out. They just, and it's always chaotic because we always have kids working on robots, kids working with 3D printers, and kids, and you could hear a pin drop. Like the kids were the one of my programming kids. I'm trying not to say their name because legally I can't say their name. I think he almost hurt himself. He was smiling so much. Like he and he called his mom. When his mom picked him up, it went to pick him up. He called him and said, "Mom, you have to come see our special guest." And then this guy this was the first time his R2 was out of his house. Like he just finished it. Like he spent 7 years working on this thing, right? $25,000 is what he has in this R2.
Oh my God.
And he let kids touch it?
Huh? He let them control it. He was like, oh yeah. And they're like doing all, I'm like, oh, like crap. And
we gotta hang out. We should have him on the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He has a YouTube channel, which I have to get. I just haven't got his information sitting on my desk at school. But he has a YouTube channel where he shared all the stuff he did. And some of the stuff, like when I was looking at his dome was cool. But I was like, oh, it's the same dome Marty has. I said, oh, where'd you get this? And he said the guy's name because there's pretty much like one guy in the world that makes R2 domes. and they're laser cut, $500. It's or $550, I think. That's just if you want an R2 and you don't want a 3D printed dome, you're paying $550 for the dome. That's just how it is. He custom built himself the thing that comes out of his head, the periscope. The periscope comes out of the R2. I was like, what? You know, I was as amazed as the kids. It was ridiculous. You know,
That's so
awesome.
cool.
and he was so nice. Like I said, he'd let him control it, and so now he doesn't have wheel locks because he's new. He's new. I mean, like I said, it's the first time he ran it. His will stand up, and most of the guys that build those, they wind up locking the legs, because what happens is if you hit a little too much torque to one leg, the legs will fold, and R2 will fall over.
Mhm.
You know, so I was worried. I was like, "Oh, please don't." You know,
Not
but
here.
it was
Not here.
beautiful. It was beautiful. It was all aluminum frame, all aluminum panels, and he had the plexiglass boards. So all the boards were put on plexiglass, so you could look at. He pulled the dome off and let the kids look at it. And then he's a electronic engineer at Aberdeen, and then his friend, who is the father of one of my robotics kids, who put all this together. He's an engineer for satellites and a programmer for satellites. So his friend who does satellites helped him, do a lot of the programming, and he did a lot of the engineering and stuff. But it was beautiful. It was just. I picked up the back of him, and I'm used to picking up like the guys whose are light, because it was aluminum frame. Even though it's lighter, it's not as light as like wood, and it was, it was a beautiful R2.
That's awesome.
And again, I didn't know him from anybody, and I got him. I said, "Look, here's the R2 builders." I said, "You want to get a hold of these guys?" I said, "You might not need them to help you build it." And he said he talked to some of them, along the way. But I said, they will get you in places, that's with that R2, Like he could probably make his $25,000 back by just selling the carts that he built to haul,
or even just the plans. I mean, how many people now put together like little plan packets and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Even some of the EVA foam prop makers will sell the templates for their blasters and stuff like that, even if it's $2 a copy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can pull this picture up. Here.
I mean, I stopped selling my 8x10 pictures of me a long time ago.
You did your headshots?
Yeah. My grandma said she wasn't going to pay for senior pictures anymore.
Yeah, so there's the that's the cart right here. And then these things come down and they lock in place with like wooden wedges. The wheels lock in. And this is just like you can't see them here, but right here where the cursor is, that's like a let me see if I can. That's like a hard drive torn apart. That's all it is.
So he understands Greeblies.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's green. Yeah, and here's the other thing. Let me see if I got a picture of it. This is what fascinated me. He put LEDs in here, which aren't accurate, but it was so cool because he turned it on like Cylon, like a Cylon. You know what I mean?
Battlestar Galactica.
But he made and brought his dome stand. You can tell it's an engineer because he's like, oh yep, just stand my dome. And it has the dome, has all the electronics in it. It has the magnetic quick connect on it.
Did he have a fake Kenny Baker inside?
He did not. Did not. There's the periscope. And it's just in a magnetic lock. It just locks right onto the inside of the dome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, there it is right there. There's with the plexiglass. I don't think I want to make sure I got to make sure I don't put pictures on with the students. But yeah, that's it. So
that's awesome.
Oh, whoops! I got the video playing. I was like, what? There we go. Yeah. So that was That was kind of a troop time. It was nice. It was, I always tell my students I feel bad because when we have robotics after school, they're getting me after like 8 hours of doing work, and sometimes I'm not the best mentor I can be. And this guy was because he talked to him about these are my kids are building a robot, so he looked at their robot and and I think it encouraged them. So. I mean, our robot just drives around. It doesn't beat, But he had a soundboard in it and everything. So let me see if I can find my. I have a thumping sound. I think it's me.
Blow the horn.
Is that me? Is that my horn?
Oh, that was my phone.
Oh, okay, good.
My work phone.
Oh, Ken's work is never done. Let's see if I have mine. Okay, see if we have the list here. We did, what are we building? Trooping, podcast we did before. Then we have Andor thoughts and Life Day. I didn't do anything for Life Day this year. So I was a bad Life Day person.
Tisk.
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
When is Life Day?
The
Isn't it
18th.
next week?
Oh, crap. I was thinking today was the 18th. What's today?
16th.
It's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday the 18th.
Oh, good. Then I will be able to do something for Life Day. So that's good.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to tell my boss I can't work. Religious holiday.
It's a religious holiday.
Only if you sing the song. You have to sing the Princess Leia song.
While coked up. No, I'm just just kidding.
Soda pops all around. You're talking about soda pop.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. So, what did we think of Andor?
Did you guys watch the new episode?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that ship of Luthans. That's going to be in my. It's going to be. I'm going to have to say top 4 because in some way, like I got the Falcon, I got the Razor Crest, I got the Ghost, and then that ship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that one might.
That his special move was spinning. I mean, come on.
That's a good trick.
Well, that besides that, what was really cool, I think that maybe some people missed was they used that prototype of a Star Destroyer. That was
not only did they use a prototype of the Star Destroyer, but did you catch its name?
No.
It was a Cantwell class. Just so when George Lucas originally was creating Star Wars, he worked with 2 artists. He worked with Ralph McQuarrie and Colin Cantwell. And Colin Cantwell was the guy who designed that concept Star Destroyer. And they say Tony Gilroy doesn't have any Easter eggs in this series at all. Like that was the most beautiful Easter egg that's possible to have a Cantwell class.
I'm starting to believe that Gilroy just says he's not a big Star Wars fan because he just doesn't feel like being bothered with all the nonsense questions. Because as soon as you say you're a Star Wars fan, then you have the typical comic book guy from Simpsons asking you stupid questions to test if you're a fan. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he's probably like, you know what? I'm going to have to do a lot of interviews. If I say I'm not a fan, then I don't have to do these stupid questions to prove I'm a fan. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they use the term 12 parsecs when parsecs is a...
Yeah.
But that the way that Luthen got away from that Star Destroyer was so inventive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
that
and
was excellent.
It was also, it made sense because Luthen is very wealthy. Like I know he's always tried to get money for the Empire, but he's not a slouch himself. So he would have he didn't have a Han Solo ship that might blow up at any time. You know, he didn't have a Razor Crest, which is an old, like that ship is top of the line for whatever he needs it for. You know what I mean? And it was just nice to see that I'm glad it wasn't like we just barely made it and my ship's almost blown up. Like I just liked it. Like, okay, he had a cop pulled up behind him in a squad car, and he was driving, a Mustang or a Vet or whatever car of choice, and he just gave him a nod and said, "See you later, guys." You know what I mean?
Pew. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
And I it was just good.
Yeah, it was a very well put together episode, I think. Like there was nothing, like there was no massive set piece for this episode. Like last week, obviously, like they built up for the prison break, but there was no like, this is the main theme of this episode.
Yep.
And I thoroughly enjoyed how, we're catching up with just about everyone in the calm before the storm.
And I like that those guys didn't kill him when Andor and Melchi or whatever were caught.
And I know we've talked about it before, but I thought it was funny that yes, you've seen aliens kind of in the background or whatever.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of this series has focused on humans. And then all of a sudden there's this great scene with these two big aliens. Now, was one of those aliens connected to Saw's partisans? He looked familiar.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Not the guy with the switchblade arm thing, but the other one. Bless you.
Thank you.
That was Scissor Punch's younger brother. Knife slap.
Billy Knife Slap.
Yeah, his name was Billy with 4 L's. No, but it was just nice because it was like I had no idea that was even going to happen. Like even when they were talking, I was like, are they letting them go or are they going to eat them? Like I couldn't tell what was going on. And I was so glad he got back to his hotel room and got his stuff. It just proves that they never really clean hotel rooms.
Yeah, you got a point there.
For all those many weeks that he was away.
Yeah.
So here's my question to both of you. Do you think Marva's really dead?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
you don't think they faked her death and she snuck out of the house some other way?
Well, it could be because about her. She wasn't taking her meds. So that could be because they did. The name of the episode was the Sisters of something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sisters of Ferrex or Daughters of Ferrex or something along those lines.
So you could. I never thought about that because I was just thinking that was just, I was just thinking that was more of just going to be like a galvanizing point for Andor. Like I was thinking that was just like the story plot line of it's going to galvanize him to be more of a rebel because he wants to do it in memory of his mother or something like that. But now that you say that, I'm like, that could be.
I would love to see that she had there was a tunnel in her apartment and that body was fake and they burned it and made it into a brick just to create that illusion. And all this time that they've been going in and out, they've been like taking away the dirt from whatever tunnel she was making.
Like Great Escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be and we'll see, because I was thinking that you're probably more right anyway, because they mentioned that tunnel and then they haven't said anything more about it. I thought they were going to rescue what's her face, the one that's like half a vegetable now.
Yeah.
Now, see, I wonder, because did they show what she said? Did she lie and say that guy was her contact?
Yeah, I don't think we saw that.
Because I was thinking she was going to lie.
Yeah.
To show us that maybe her mind is stronger than they think. That's what I was and then they didn't show it. So, but who knows? But man, next week, geez, I'm glad they spread them out, but I could have just sat and watched it like right away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think next week will be an hour?
Brings me to my theory. Mon Mothma's husband and daughter are in the rebellion.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
That's my theory. And he doesn't know Mon Mothma is in it, and he doesn't want her to know. The daughter somehow knows, and the cousin knows that both of them are in it, but knows that neither of them want each other to know. Because remember, the daughter acted weird during that party? Like she was looking for her dad. I think she heard about the attack and wanted to know if the cousin was okay. That's my thoughts.
Curious.
And then I think her with those girls, there's going to almost be like a young rebellious group. Like those girls are getting ready for the underage marriage crap or something like that. I just think a lot of that is a front for something, and he's going to be in on it somehow. And then if he dies, he'll be like Star Wars Jesus.
We already have Star Wars Jesus. We have two of those.
But he looks like Star Wars Jesus.
He looks more like Star Wars hipster, like with the little ponytail up on top, and
I was just thinking about that daughter's reaction at the party.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, so many of the characters in this show are so well developed, and then he's one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only thoughts. I have nothing more to go on that other than that.
Well, for me, the whole series has been nothing but, and I know I bring it up week after week, but every scene I just hear Saw Gerrera lies every day, more because there's just so much deception, and you don't know who is really playing which side, or who is supporting who, or what their true motives are. Like there's so much weirdness to it that makes it brilliant.
Well, and how about that scene with Saul and Luthen? Like, basically, you know what I mean? Like, Luthen was like, that guy doesn't know me well enough for me to worry about saving him. And Luthen's making a good point. I mean, if and again, I'm listening to this podcast, the World War II podcast. That's what really happened in World War II. They were like, well, look, we can't rescue this person, because if we do, they'll know we know that we have an inside person.
Mm-hmm.
There is those sacrifices that have to be made for the bigger good.
So on Keith and Kerwin's chat tonight, they were talking about sacrifice, the topic of sacrifice. And the comment I made on their show was, I find sacrifice in this series so interesting, because not only do they talk about the sacrifice that the individuals have to make, that speech from Luthen, which was absolutely brilliantly written and wonderfully delivered, and the sacrifices that people are willing to make with other people in mind. So, for instance, when that thug was hinting at possibly marrying Mon Mothma's daughter,
right?
And Mon Mothma at first said no, it's not even an option, because she wasn't, at least seemingly, willing to sacrifice somebody else for this. But Luthen was willing to sacrifice. First it was 50 people, and then we heard another number in today's episode,
30. And he kept saying 30 plus this guy,
plus him.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what the true number is, because this group over this conversation is 50, that conversation is 30. But the willingness to give up other people, for the benefit of either one person or the larger group, is remarkable and frightening. Because one of the things I'd read about Tony Gilroy is he researched all sorts of revolutions, the American Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and has incorporated those historical pieces into this series, just like George incorporated historical references into the original trilogy.
Yeah. Well, and that's what makes the good story, is that the good guys have to make the hard decisions. And even they talk about that. I think Andor talks about that a little bit in Rogue One, when you look at that, that end part where you have all those diplomats who say they're fighting, but they're not the ones that have to do the dirty work.
Yep.
Like, it's easy to say, well, look, we need to destroy this, this, and this, when you just say something and the other guys are the ones getting shot or blown up or something like that. But it's also showing that, like, the people, even they've sacrificed too. So Luthen's not getting blown up, but his life is basically just a vessel to promote. Like, he doesn't really have a life, you know.
And the life he does have is a sham.
Right.
It's phony. It's not real.
Right. So it's weird because he has it falling apart at both ends, because the ISB guy that wants to quit, and then you have Mon Mothma's cousin who just comes barging in, kind of screw. You know what I mean? Like, from both sides, he has people that are in some ways aren't committed as much as he is. You know.
Well, are they not as committed as he is, or are they just committed differently?
Well, that's true. That's a good.
Because to your I mean, Luthen wasn't the one, on Aldhani, dodging blaster bolts, trying to load the ship with credits. He made those arrangements. He helped formulate the plan and got the people together, but he wasn't the one, that had to swim underwater and climb up the dam and all of that sort of
see your friends killed.
Yeah, see your friends killed, with the possibility of your lover possibly dying right in front of you.
Well, and that's what I wonder, if as much as Luthen life is a hollow life, that also protects him from some of that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not everyone could do what he does, just like not everyone could do, it's just neat to see the pieces of the puzzle. I'm still, and I don't want to wreck anyone's fandom, but I'm still amazed at the people that aren't giving. I feel bad for the people that aren't giving Andor a chance.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, my wife hasn't watched Andor, but she was today when I was watching it, because she wants to just binge it. She was like, well, I'll just watch it, and she's been busy with her job. So today I was watching it right before we ate, and she sat and watched it, and she enjoyed the episode without seeing anything else. So I think that says something too. At least to me, I don't know.
One of the many things I truly appreciate about this show is it's I think a fantastic example of how it's possible to have different kinds of stories told in the Star Wars universe for different kinds of audiences. Yep. I mean, this isn't a Star Wars Resistance cartoon, but there are elements that are Star Wars Resistance cartoon, and it's not original trilogy, and there are still pieces of it that are connected to the original trilogy.
Yep.
It's not like anything that has necessarily come before it yet is connected to all of it.
Right. Well, I also like it that there's very little they can do that someone's going to have a fit about canon. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't have, like, it has Andor and Melchi and Mon Mothma. But besides that, it doesn't really have any characters that if they, this person said, you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes with the canon stuff, which I enjoy, and I'm glad everything they have canon, but some people get a little worked up about, like, that kind of stuff, where this is just, hey, just show me some cool ships. Like no one's going to say, well, that ship doesn't exist because of blah, 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 So,
well, to that end, I find it interesting that there are people that are saying similar things about this as they said about the Solo movie. Like, why are you making this? Why are you wasting the time, effort, energy, and money to make this? Nobody asked for it. And I would say to them, nobody asked for any of it.
Right, yeah, right. No one asked for New Hope.
Yeah.
They were trying to shut that sucker down more than,
Just sit back and enjoy the creativity, enjoy the storytelling, enjoy the visual spectacle that they are. I mean, there are some fantastic shots in these episodes, like when Luthen was standing on that catwalk with no railings,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all you saw of him at first
There's
was
no OSHA
him
in
in the
Star
shadow.
Wars. There's no OSHA, man. There's like, how many catwalks can we make with not one single safety? Is the Empire that cheap? Like, it just like when they built the Death Star, they're like, well, that'll be an extra X amount of dollars if we just put handrails. They're like, what do we need handrails for? We'll put a grappling hook on every fifth stormtrooper.
Every person's belt.
I don't know. And it's funny because then they made an announcement this week that they're going to release the first couple episodes of Andor on all these other platforms. And this is where you see where people who aren't experts all of a sudden are experts on digital media. They're like, Andor's failing, so they're doing this. And then the next person saying, Andor is such a good show, they're putting it on this to try to drive more traffic to Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird how the same story is getting both sides. It's getting just as many people saying one side or the other.
Well, look at Halo. When that show came out, they released like I think 1 or 2 episodes on YouTube. I thought like full episodes, and then the rest of it was on the Paramount or Universal streaming service or whatever it was.
Well, almost every. What I've noticed for the last 4 or 5 years, almost every show that's on some other platform, if you go to like Apple TV or Roku or any of those, many, many times you can see the first episode for free. Like it'll be, you don't have to, and then once you see the first one, then you have to subscribe to X, Y, or Z to go see it. And so when they're saying these people are doom and gloom it or Disney, I'm like, it doesn't seem that different to me,
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's just, Disney Plus. And I think the dad batch we're talking about, because I think one of them works in the industry that tracks all this, and they were saying they didn't, when all these people were saying Andor was failing, there was no even release of data of how many people were watching it yet. They were in their own bubble.
Well, it's like when people, even before movies come out, there'll be Rotten Tomato scores.
Yeah.
So I think there's a certain group of people that love to bring the storm, or they love to bring the negativity to the forefront.
Yep.
I don't know if it makes them feel special, if it makes them feel important, whatever it does.
I do think Star Wars is scaring some people because it's opening up to more people. Because it was, when it first came out with New Hope, everyone loved it. It was like across the board, it was a phenomena, and then it seemed like Empire still had that, and then we're in that Return of the Jedi stage of when I remember in high school where most of the Star Wars fans dropped off. Like the same kid I talked to on the bus with Star Wars 2 years before, if you talked to him on the bus with Star Wars, he was either going to beat you up or give you a wedgie or something like that, So we're in the wedgie stage. We're in the wedgie stage of Star Wars, I think.
Yeah, and I think most of that comes with the phenomenon that is, to the general public of, we're in that phase of Star Wars fatigue where to the average, like the casual fan, there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
So I think that has something to do with it. And I think if Andor would have come out 2-3 years ago, I think it would have the highest of praises.
Yeah.
But since Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, what have you, since they've just been pumping out content the last 2 years, I think people are starting to kind of get fed up with, like, well, great, now I have another show that I have to watch if I want to be caught up.
But I would argue, as someone who loves TV and movies, there is garbage. If you take away Disney and you just try to watch something, there are shows out there I'm thinking, really, this is the best I got to watch, like Like, I'll try anything, man. There was a certain point that Missy and I were just like, find a show that has more than 3 seasons, just so I don't care how bad it is. I just want something to watch, like when I get home from work and let my brain, and I just don't know what I don't know what people want out of their entertainment. Um, and this is coming from all of us who probably take Star Wars way more seriously than most people do. And I don't know, because I guess it happens in cycles. I guess when Revenge of the Sith was out, we were kind of in that same boat where people were a little tired of Star Wars. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really remember that as much because my kids were younger. But
Well, I think with that, I don't know if they were tired of Star Wars or if they were tired with the flood of intense criticism of Star Wars.
yeah, maybe.
I
know George was.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, I think it was right around 2012 or so, it was before the sale to Disney, where he was interviewed, and one of the things he says, like, why should I keep doing this?
Yeah.
People say they hate it. Why do I want to keep making things for people to hate?
Yeah. Well, they made that one fan film, George Lucas Ruined My Childhood, or
George Lucas versus the people versus
yeah,
the
that's
people
what it was. Yeah, I was like
that phony documentary or whatever.
Yeah, I did like Young Lucas in Love, though. You ever see that one?
That little YouTube video, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was on the Force.net back in the day. I don't know. I'm just happy. Like, the Andor stuff is good. So I know Michael Badley just came out with all the files for that robot. I'm not in love with that. Yeah, I'm not in love with that robot as much as
even after today's episode.
Today is probably the first time I really liked him, but up until today, like, if you would have asked me yesterday, like, you would have said, look, if they could get rid of that robot, would you care? I'd be like, nah, I don't care. But today I did. I am.
Well, keep in mind, you've only been with him for what, 6 or 7 weeks?
Yeah,
10 weeks.
Well,
yet you've known R2-D2 and C-3PO for 4 decades.
Ken, your theory might be right, because it takes him more power to lie, and he had to charge.
He had to stay charged.
Oh, Ken.
He's got.
And I want to go back to one of the things that John said, where he said if this had come out a couple of years ago, it would have met with like huge critical acclaim and stuff. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have. I'm just wondering if it would have been different because there wouldn't have been as much time to develop it. And I think that may have been one of the biggest struggles for the sequel trilogy, is that they didn't have as much time to develop the stories, and it was just every other year it was something. So I'm not saying that they were rushed, but I'm just wondering if they had had more time, if they would have been different, because there's no way to. But I don't know if they would have been better or more. Or, like this show, they've had several years to work on the different pieces, even to the point where they've already decided, from what I understand, the second season, instead of covering 1 year's worth of time, each 3-episode arc will cover a year.
Yeah.
So it'll be, year 2, it'll be like 4 BBY for the first 3, and then it'll be 3 BBY and then 2 BBY and so on, right up until Rogue One. So they've put in that much time, effort, and energy into developing the story and the costumes and even the sets. I mean, that Ferric set. I want a ticket to go visit Ferric. I mean, I've been to Batuu 3 times.
Yeah.
I'll spend a week, slumming it in Marva's B&B.
Yeah.
Can I stay at the hotel where Bix was tortured?
Yeah, they'll torture you for free. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And here, your easy list. The elevator music will be the kids screaming when they're being killed.
Which who
Well,
knows? For all we know, it could be one of our favorite bands. It could be Green Day on repeat. For all we know.
it's probably yeah. No, I also think with some of these, it looks like whatever previous project they have, it seems like Lucasfilm, at least in my eyes, it seems like they're trying to, like The Mandalorian was an experiment and a teaching tool at the same time. Like, okay, look, we're going to do this with this and see what works. Because The Mandalorian proved that you can do a long form story,
Well, I
about
think there's two pieces that The Mandalorian proved. One, you can do the long story story like TV, which is one of the things that Lucas wanted to do decades ago.
Yep.
And two, that you can develop the technology like the volume and not necessarily have to go out on location.
Yep.
Is location stuff still fantastic? Oh my goodness, yes.
Yep.
And so all of these things have really stuck true to that stuff that George and ILM had from the beginning of, pushing the envelope, doing new, doing different, doing things that hadn't been seen and or done before. And it just builds on itself. It builds on the technology. It builds on the kind of storytelling to make some wonderful things.
Do you remember where he was going to shoot a lot of his stuff when he was wanted to do the TV show? Do you remember the place, the location he was trying to get?
No.
Prague.
Wasn't part of The Last Jedi filmed in Prague?
Yeah.
I thought that's where they filmed like some of the Canto Bite stuff.
I think so. But I'm saying that was like one of the locations he was looking at. Because it was so expensive, and I guess Prague gives some really good like tax breaks and stuff. So the guys who did the paint work for Wakanda Forever that Zoe had lunch with last week, they were going to Prague at the end of this month to do something for some Apple television show.
Oh, that's cool.
So.
Ken, you notice how he just like casually dropped that in this time? No fanfare, no lead up, just casually like.
Well, my kid, she didn't do anything good this week. She didn't, and she still hasn't told me anything about that stupid party.
We should have a ticker that says "Update on Zoe."
Yeah. Right.
Well, she only has 3 more weeks left. Then she'll have to join us mere mortals again.
So. Unless she finds a job in 3 weeks.
Well, that too, but the job, like I said, they're still just coming out of COVID, so she'll be probably spending most of her time applying from jobs from here. So,
well, in the meantime, do you think she would do some tutorials for me on how to manage a successful website?
Yeah. Zoe is like she's like just like my wife in the sense that her and my wife are like organizational fiends when it comes to like doing things. Like my wife gets like she talks about her school day, and I'm like, man, like I wish I could like do that. Like she's like, oh yeah, I grade this while I'm sitting here and doing this, and then we're like, whoa, man, he gets like 14 hours worth of work done in a 7-hour day. So, and that's how Zoe is. Zoe's, man, she got a calendar. I mean, she just bangs it out. I think for her and maybe I'm not this way outside of my job because my job makes me be it that way during the day, but she's like super scheduled and regimented. And like for me, my day is regimented. Like I know exactly what time I get to use the bathroom every day. You know what I mean? And when I get home, I'm like total opposite. I'm just like, well, see what happens. So,
do you think you need a time grappler at work?
Yes, I need a time grappler
to let you know.
Not at work. I need a time grappler at home. I was doing so well at the beginning of the pandemic with getting stuff done because I was like nervous energy, and I think I'm paying the price for working. Because I didn't know John then, but I knew you, Ken, and I'd wake up at like 5 a.m. and just like be building stuff till 7:30, teach all day, and then build stuff till like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I remember, I forget who it was, one time says, "Hey, if someone's seen this," he posted it like 6 a.m. By 5 a.m. the next day, I had it 3D printed, cleaned, and painted. So.
Do you think there are going to be, or not, do you think, which of the lines do you think from this show are going to have staying power? That will last beyond the season.
Well,
A
I mean,
lot
we
of
already
Luth-
touched on it. Yeah, I was going to say Luthen's monologue.
Yeah,
I know
they're gonna those monologues are gonna be pulled apart. What's the one line, like I'm fighting for a future I'll never see, or something like that.
Yeah, it was almost like the line out of Hamilton.
Yeah.
I
Without the
can't
slavery
swim.
and racism.
I can't swim.
Yeah, I can't swim. Yeah.
It will.
You don't think that there's some sort of a flotation device that the Imperials had some? Well, then again, they don't have railings. What am I thinking? Never mind.
Yeah, they're like, well,
Flotation device.
and it looks like, it looks like they're thinking like not that many people got out. Because you think about some of those people that were locked up, the way they locked him up 6 years for that, right? He was pretty much, Andor was I don't want to say a hardened criminal, but he came from a hardworking planet, but he was used to being a criminal. Like, he was used to shooting people, like, without, where some of those people could have just been like me, like, oh, there's a school. If I would have died, like, I wouldn't have made it past the guys swimming out. I don't have a cut throat. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what's funny is with all of the things that we've seen Cassian do, that's not what he got in trouble for.
I know. Well, yeah, I know.
He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and was like it was like the equivalent of, I don't know, littering.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That whole prison was just filled with, they just needed able bodies. So when those guys escaped, like Andor knew how to hide from Imperials. Andor knew that stuff. Where some of those guys, probably that's the first time they ever got in trouble. Like he was on a resort planet. Some of the guys probably just went to get smokes and never came home. Because it seemed like to me they were just filling ships. Like, okay, you were running, okay, 6 years, and then what did they do? Like, they probably swam and got caught right away. They didn't know how to hide or persevere, and
I did find it interesting that it was just Andor and Melchi together. That was it.
Yeah.
Like, those are the only two that we saw clustered, or from what was it, 5,000 or whatever that were on
Right.
that one prison cylinder.
Well, you figure some drowned, right? Some probably got on the beach and didn't go. Like, Andor had the wherewithal to just run, and Melchi probably just knew to follow him. Because we don't know anything about Melchi, but Melchi doesn't seem like the hardened criminal as much. But he seems a little more streetwise than like the average person.
Yeah, and some were killed in the escape, and we saw a bunch of people get shot or shocked or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was a good episode. So
I thought Kino's speech was pretty good too. It was delivered very well.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, man, not only can he masterfully control his body with all the motion capture work he has done, but just the way he's able to look at a camera and deliver a set of lines is remarkable.
Well, see, I was thinking that, and I was thinking he almost has to be a better actor from his mocap thing, because like I think when he started with Gollum, right? That was early mocap.
Yep.
So that technology relied on every single facial movement and body movement of him. And so, like, because if you're an actor, if you're Brad Pitt and you can just get some lines out, you're Brad Pitt. They don't care if you like smiled properly, or you know what I mean. It's just, he's probably an underrated actor. Like,
and he's done so many motion capture things from Gollum to Caesar. to Snoke.
Yep. And then he did he did what did he do? Black Panther, right?
Mm-hmm.
He did Black Panther.
Ulysses Claw.
Oh yeah, Ulysses Claw.
Yeah, and trying to think, he did. I don't know. He's done a good. He's just such a good actor.
Yeah,
That's another thing that I think sets. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, truthfully, I think if they haven't already filmed season 2, they will find a way to bring him back. I think he's a fan favorite character who you don't see die.
Right.
You know, maybe he found a pile of bodies floating along that he could use as a pool.
Or some of those guys could just be locked back up. And they're just like, you know what? I mean, because what I thought was pretty neat about the jailbreak was the Imperials' main key to keeping the people down was other prisoners. As soon as Andy Serkis's character was not on their side, they could sneak in the bathroom with that big metal rod. Because if they would have been cutting that thing with that little knife, it would have been like 100 years before they cut through that stupid pipe, you know? And so once the floor guy wasn't on their side, the prisoners had a little more leeway where they could hide stuff, and you know what I mean? And that's just, it just shows a forethought in how they wrote those stories, you know? So
yeah, I'm excited to see what they do in season 2 so far. Honestly, I don't think they can mess this up with the finale, because I mean, I was talking to my dad about it. There's 11 episodes and they have hit on 11 episodes.
Yeah.
So
again, I still don't understand. I have friends that don't like it. I don't understand why. I don't
have they said why, or just a generic? I don't like it.
You know. And I wouldn't say this to them because they're my friends, but I also wonder, is this one of those shows you can't watch while you have your phone in your hand? Because I get irritated when people watch shows with their phone in their hand. It bothers me. You know what I mean? And but some shows are written that way. Like they're just like, if you're like, oh yeah, and you don't have to pay attention. This show you have to commit to watching it. You know, like it's.
And one of the things I think that sets this apart from many a Star Wars thing is the quality of the actors and actresses in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they with the original trilogy, their prime star was Sir Alec Guinness.
Yep. Who wasn't even in it that much.
Who wasn't even in it that much, exactly. And then over time, they've started gathering more well-known people, but that's not what George wanted. George didn't want necessarily the well-known actors and actresses.
Right.
He wanted these not unidentifiable, but so they didn't come in with ego and arrogance, and you had to suspend belief because you saw them in 16 other things. These folks are so good at their craft that they can take a series of lines and deliver them masterfully.
Well, and Anthony Daniel touches on it in his book. In New Hope, they didn't even list Anthony Daniels as C-3PO.
Was it just C-3PO?
He just listed as C-3PO initially. And it was because George wanted people to think it was a robot. And he explained it. And if you listen to Anthony Daniels' book, a lot of people took the clips of him complaining about it, but they didn't read the next chapter where he talks about how he understood why. Because it was just, it's just neat. Like when Solo came out, I was worried that Woody Harrelson was going to pull me out of Star Wars. He didn't, because he's a good actor. I think because of the roles he played before, you never thought of him as a good actor, which is silly on my part, but I never thought of him because I think sometimes we think of the good actors are the ones that get the Oscars or in those type of movies. Well, it's way harder to act in a movie where you got to look at a green tennis ball on green screen than it is to be in a fully you know. So,
So what do you think's going to happen in the last episode, other than the riot on Ferrix?
Well, now I got to rethink my whole thing because I don't think the mother's dead now. I think she was saving her medicine. She faked a coma. Those I got to rethink the whole thing. Other than I still think Mon Mothma's husband and daughter are in the rebellion. But
I'm firmly behind you on that one. I 100% think that they're part of the rebellion.
I just picture like some sort of, maybe not this episode, maybe next season. I picture something happening where the husband and or possibly the daughter get killed, but it's like this. Mon Mothma sees this wonderful sacrifice of someone who she thought she didn't really like. Because I feel like in the Andor on, Rogue One on, she's more of like this on my own fighting the rebellion kind of thing.
Yes, I think the other end of it, I think that somehow her husband and or daughter are gonna sell her out, call attention to her, the things that she's been doing, and that's why she leaves the comfort of Coruscant as the senator and goes full time into the rebellion, both to help the rebellion and be a leader there, but also for her own safety, because she's no longer, safe on Coruscant with the Imperials around.
See, my theory is mine's a little bit different than Mike's. My thing is look at how both the husband and the daughter react whenever she brings in someone to help with her cover up, and she's spinning these stories, and you see them get like real uncomfortable, like, oh, you're trying to recoup all this money, and you're getting help with your finances for your
charity.
your charity projects. You're actively working in the Senate for the Empire, and you just kind of, it's that kind of like side eye, like scoff that they give, and that makes me think that they're both they're part of a different sect of the rebellion, and they don't like that she's working with the Empire.
We shall see. I think the Emperor would be a good guest appearance, though. Like they have a dinner and he shows up.
See, I was expecting some of the other recognizable senators and people, because one of the early episodes they had mentioned like Sly Moore and some of those folks, and I'm surprised that they didn't show up.
I'm glad they're not. I mean, I loved everything about Mando, but there for a while it was an easy complaint of some people to have like the guest. They would say, "Oh, it was the guest of the day." You know what I mean? Which I liked all those guest appearances, but it is neat to see a show. Like, you could not watch any other Star Wars and this show would still be fine with you.
Well, I think they did a great job of steering away from it, because they could have easily had Luthen meet that Imperial spy, the rebel spy, at Dexter's Diner.
Yeah.
They could have done that, or
that's what they need. They need to make a show that's just all that. Like, it's just every cringy.
Well, that's what would have been Star Wars Detours. That
yeah. It should just be. They should go to the doctor, and it should be what's his face from the cantina to get that's
Dr.
one of
Azarban?
Yeah, it should be him. And in the lobby is the dude to get the Walrus Man is in the lobby.
Oh, with one arm?
No, before he's like his receptionist. You know what I mean?
He's the one who checks your insurance card.
Yeah. And Watto should be in there, and it should just be one really terrible guest appearance after another. They should have the Ewok X-wing pilot. Was there an Ewok X-wing pilot in the one book?
In a comic, I thought.
Yeah. So
Well,
E.T.
we haven't seen Tag and Binks either.
Yeah. The rabbit should show up.
Jackson.
Jackson
should show up. Though the Jackson I saw at Celebration, he would have actually looked pretty cool. They should have Jackson. They should have every week it's like an adventure, Luke and Han, like the old comic books. Like the A-Team.
Yeah.
Well, we got that in the Rad Badge. Or the Bad Badge, rather.
The one thing I will say again, because I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but the complaint against like the guest appearances in Mando, it's not like they were just there and then never seen again. Right. At least like with the legacy characters, there was payoff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bo-Katan didn't show up for funsies. She was an active part of the finale.
Yeah.
And she didn't like walk by, look at the camera, and then keep walking.
That's what but that's what they should do. It should just be, Uncle Owen should show up. Should be like a curmudgeon. Little young Luke should come. They should be in that shop in Coruscant, and Luke should be looking at like some Jedi relic or something like that.
And Owen slaps his hand and tells him to put it down so he doesn't break it.
Yeah. You'll cut your hand off, kid, or something. Say something like that. Don't play with that, or you'll cut your hand off. Jabba should come rolling through. Bomar Monk, just for the sake of,
Sebulba driving some ship through town, cuts off the senator and calls her Poodoo.
Yeah, and then Jar Jar can step in it.
That's something we haven't seen yet. There has to be Jar Jar somewhere.
Well, they have the Gungan shield, and the antique shop. You know how they did on Disney Plus where you could do the walk through the Falcon.
Oh, the biomes and the walkthroughs or whatever.
Yeah, they should do a walkthrough of Luthen's shop, like where you could just like look at the different things.
Get to see the Indiana Jones rocks.
Yeah. Do you guys remember? Do you remember the PC game where you had the Star Wars Death Star weapons testing room?
No.
Mm-mm.
So it was behind the magic. It was a disc that had. It was the first time they released like the unused scenes from New Hope, and it had some other oddballs. An old PC disc. I have one here somewhere, but it had a weapons changing room or testing room. And you could like pick blast, and there's a stormtrooper there, and you shoot him, and then had all these. But the one weapon was an Ewok rock, and it was just this giant rock, and you just throw it, and it would smash the stormtrooper. So,
I will say that still does twist me up a little bit when I hear the blasters, and they don't sound like the typical pew pews. Yeah,
that's yeah. But they're not. They're not shooting E11s though. Because even the ones in the prison are the ones the rebels use.
Yeah, but even I don't think that they didn't sound like that. I could have just been because it was 3:15 in the morning or whatever when I watched it. Maybe that's why I'm not connecting the sounds as clearly as I could.
No, they weren't the same.
Yeah, they sounded slightly different.
He took out that TIE bomber quick too. Why they sent a TIE bomber out after that ship though? I would fire that captain because he lost a TIE bomber. Man, that's one of my favorite TIE fighters is the TIE bomber.
Yeah, see, to me that was just Easter egg. That was.
Yeah. Oh
we
yeah.
haven't seen a TIE bomber in live action
since Empire, right?
Yeah, I don't think we've had one on screen in anything.
Yeah, there might have been something in Clone Wars or Rebels rather. But nothing over. Definitely not in live action.
Yeah.
But what was the one that? So when Andor and Melchi were climbing up that rock face, what was that one?
That looked like that prototype TIE.
Okay, the one that was on the Ring of Kafrene.
I think, because you could only see the bottom side of it. Um,
Because it definitely wasn't Thrawn's three winged
no.
thing.
But I think there's one that it sits on top of the blades. We need like Zach from when we were filming. He's like that ship expert because I think he played that X-Wings miniature game and they had all those little ships and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, so as an overall assessment of the show, I've loved it. Absolutely loved it.
oh yeah.
And so we're coming close to the end of this. That means that right around the corner is Bad Batch.
Yep.
And then shortly after that is Mando season 3.
Yeah.
So we got to be coming close to a time for a Bad Batch, another Bad Batch trailer.
Yeah.
That's got to be coming out soon.
Yep. Well, maybe they'll talk about it on the Dad Batch because they're recording it right now. I think they record on Wednesday nights too.
Oh, really?
I think so. Because I'm trying to think when it goes in my feed, and I think that's a Friday because they do post. I think they do more post production.
Okay.
So,
Ken, when is the next episode of Force Spine Star Wars?
here, let's finish up with podcast talk.
In theory, we are recording next Tuesday. That's what we have scheduled. So I'm hoping the 5 of us will be able to get together, and we'll just be doing a recap of the first.
I'm just going to
9
text you for
episodes.
like an hour straight, just to mess with you.
My phone just keeps dinging.
Yeah.
Actually, the sound that I have for you is the seismic charge.
Oh.
So every time the seismic charge goes off, I know it's from you. And John's is a lightsaber igniting.
Oh, I love it.
I was going to say, should we read into that? Because remember the old, I think it was the T-Mobile one, where the guy, when they first started it, remember years ago when the first phones, you could actually have different ringtones, and the guy's he was with his girlfriend, and the ringtone came up, and it was the song "Secret Lover," and here it was like the girl's sister or something like that. So.
I figured out which tie that was.
Which one?
Yeah, here we go.
It was the TIE Reaper. I had to go back through and watch it on Disney Plus, but that's what it was.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't seen that on screen very much.
Yeah, just like a handful of seconds and a handful of scenes in Rogue One. That was it.
Well, that's what I like. I like how Disney and the story group and Lucasfilm have set it up that when these people want to do good stories, they have resources available. So if they're not a Star Wars fan, or if they or whatever, that someone can steer them and look, because they can say, well, look, then use this, like, because everyone wants to put their own stamp on it. So they can say, look, here, you'll be the first person that uses this in live action, or the first person, so.
Or this makes more sense to have here than,
Oh, yeah, someone's writing a story about that right now. So.
Like, how come we haven't seen another, another Millennium Falcon or another Ghost anywhere else? That kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, we've seen modified versions of it, but.
I always thought of the Millennium Falcon as more of like, like nowadays, I would equate it to like a 58 Cadillac Ghostbusters ambulance. You know what I'm saying? If you went back to 1958 or 59, there'd be tons of them. There we go. My screen just went crazy. But now there's none. Like there's just none around.
I found one in my car shopping the last couple weeks. I actually I found a 58 Cadillac ambulance. It was like
nice,
$3,600, and it was pretty clean too.
And you don't have it? That would have been a great winter car.
You
never get stuck in that thing.
Yeah. However, I would always be the one that you'd call.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But I think it was a hearse. I don't think it was an ambulance. It's almost the same car. I think there's just some details on the inside that no one would see. But if I remember correctly, it was a hearse.
Yeah, I thought it was a hearse because in the girl version of the movie, that's what she had borrowed from her uncle.
But I think the original one was a hearse. I used to go to a junkyard when there used to be a junkyard near me. They just let us go in. Like, I'm surprised I didn't die of tetanus. But they had a row of old ambulances, and they had a 50 something because it had the dual headlights. So it was after 57, but before 1960, and that was before Ghostbusters was as big as it is now.
See, I thought it was an ambulance because it still had the lights and sirens.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to double check. I'm not a Ghostbusters guy, but I was always under the impression it was a hearse. But check the internet. I know where there's a DeLorean. That's about it.
It was an ambulance. It was a 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Sentinel limo-style end-loader combination car ambulance conversion.
All right, there we go.
That's a mouthful.
Nice. That is.
Jesus. Just say the name of it again, like not the whole description, just the 1950.
1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Sentinel limo.
Miller Meteor, like meteor as in like Haley's, like meteor.
Yep.
Sentinel.
Well, I think it's GM used to send a lot of their stuff away to get all that extra stuff. Mm-hmm. Like it probably started as almost like a panel car, and then it probably got sent somewhere where all the custom stuff got put on. Like GM used to do that for all this, because you get these cars with these weird logos that it was from a whole nother thing.
That's fun.
Because we went to the junkyards because you always look for ambulances and cop cars because they had heavy duty everything. So if you wanted a rear, like if you had a Chevelle and you could find a GM product, police, fire, or ambulance, you wanted to get the rear out of it because that was usually a heavier rear. Same with transmissions and all that stuff. I don't think they do that. I mean, I know they make them heavier, but I don't think anyone really does it because I think now when they probably get stripped down pretty quick. You haven't lived till you walk through a junkyard for about 12 hours looking for parts.
I can't say 12 hours, but I can say I have walked through a junkyard for.
Oh, dude, there's a junkyard near me where there's trees growing through some of the cars. The back lot is all old. They're worthless. Like there's no way to salvage them. Plus, they don't have titles. But the guy lets me go back through there, and there's just trees growing up through them. It's like art. I mean, I know it's bad for the environment. And it's leaching into the groundwater, and it's terrible. But it is pretty cool to see. So.
Can you go and buy just like a tire or a rim and a tire at a junkyard?
Oh yeah. The junkyard near me, like when I bought that bug for Zoe, and the driver's seat it had been used, so it was. So I just went to a junkyard, and he had a whole row of bugs. I could have bought any part off of him. You just go. I yanked the seat out, said how much. He's like $25. I was like, here you go, done.
So I could go because for instance, our cars don't have spare tires.
Yeah, I just go.
Just go to a junkyard and can you call them and say I'm looking for a 2017 whatever?
Yeah, it depends on the yard. So you have you pull it yards and you have ones where they pull it. So you'll just pay more for where they pull it. But if you just call them and say, look, I'm looking for this and that, and they'll tell you if, like in PA, you can still go into junkyards. Some will charge you a fee. But like I got a couple near me that they're still old, like redneck yards. They're just like, yeah, just sign this paper in case I fall in a hole. And then I'll say, I'm looking for this. And it depends on the yard. Like there's the one yard near me. He doesn't really keep track of stuff. But when you go there, one of the guys working, I'll be like, look, I'm looking for a 98 bug. He'll be like, well, there's 2 blue ones in the back,
Yeah.
So
there are some of like the bigger chains that like pull apart. They have an inventory of everything they have, and you can Google it, or not Google it. You can, if you get on their website, you can look and see. Like if I was looking for a 90 to a 92 Camaro with, like say I'm looking for the rear spoiler, I can look based on what they have, year, make, model. I can be like, okay, that probably has the part I'm looking for.
Yep,
cool.
And it's like I got a tail light for my van one time. So even on Amazon for an aftermarket tail light, which was cheap. It was like $40 or something like that for a tail light. I went to the junkyard here, it was $10.
And you said you took it yourself.
I have a good junkyard story. So I had and then we're done. So we won't be on it. I had an 87 Saab 900. And the Saab 900s, the ignition switch was on top of the transmission in between the seats. And the keys would always break off because it was in between your seats. So you'd bump it, but if it broke off, you couldn't unlock your transmission. It locked it into reverse. You'd put it in reverse, shut it off, So my key broke off. So when I was driving, I just had a screwdriver. I would just lay in between my seats and I would start my car. But I had to get it fixed because anyone could just get in my car and drive it away. So I went to the junkyard. There was a special tool to take it out, and I had it. And this was before Zoe was born, and so we were like flat broke, right? So I went to the guy, and he said, "Yeah, I have one, and the key's in it. $20 or no, $10 to take it out." And all I had was a 20. I was like, okay. So I went, took the whole thing apart, but you had to take the console out. And when I pulled the console out, they were notorious for their ashtrays didn't have a top on them. So you'd put something in the ashtray and you'd open it, it would be gone. When I pulled the console out, the $20 bill fell out. And
Bonus.
I don't know why I found it so funny. Maybe because I was just so broke. I was laughing so hard it took me twice as long to get the thing out. And then when I paid him, I was just laughing so hard. Like he probably thought I was like high or something. But
well, you were huffing out there in the yard. That's what it was. You were sniffing gas fumes.
Dude, I pulled crap off where you open up a hood and you're ready to pull something off, and it's a giant hornet's nest under the hood. I've pulled stuff off where snakes come out of it. The one guy had dogs. And so you had to you had to
in the yard,
and they were most of the time they were nice, but you had to keep your eyes open like you didn't know.
So the guy legit had junkyard dogs.
Yeah. Well, the junkyard near me, he had
Sick'em balls.
He had a late 60s Thunderbird in the middle of the junkyard that he had roped off with like police tape that was all faded. You weren't allowed to touch that car. It was all beat, but it was all original. You had to like go around, but there was buses.
Museum piece.
There was buses in the back of this junkyard that I used to go to all the time, and then years later I found out that's where my real dad lived for years. Lived in that junkyard. I didn't even know I had a real dad like at the time, but he lived in the junkyard that I used to get parts from.
In a bus?
In two buses, back to back. Yeah. My dad was like a crazy Vietnam vet. He lived in buses. Yeah. And I think
that story beats the $20 bill.
Well, I know. I just remembered that, but it was he lived in these buses in the back of this junkyard. And then when I met him years later, we were talking. He's like, "Yeah, I lived in this one in Ackland." I was like, "I used to go to that all the time." He said, "Yeah, I lived in the buses." I said, "Yeah, the ones in the back." Because they had a whole bunch of Volkswagens. When I used to work on Volkswagens, they had a whole bunch of. That's where I used to get my Volkswagen parts. So
I had one friend in high school who his dad drove a bus out onto his property and converted it into a maple syrup factory sort of thing. So it had a
meth lab.
Yeah, it was a meth lab. Is what it was. No, I can remember
breaking syrup.
I can remember a couple nights of going over there and we'd sit by the furnace or whatever with a boiler or the whatever, just making maple syrup.
That's cool.
And I think that might be a great place to end tonight's episode. Making syrup in the back of a bus.
I'm sticking with my breaking syrup or breaking maple.
Breaking maple.
I am the danger.
All right, guys. Well, have a good week. For anyone that was listening, have a good week. And I will see you guys later.